Do you miss the glory days of The Witcher and Gothic? Then check this one out. Hey people, Voice talking to you, and today we're looking at Of Ash and Steel, a new open-world fantasy RPG looking to bring back the magic of emergent exploration. If you'd like to check this game out for yourself or see my full playthrough stream, there are links to both down in the description. Keep in mind though that this is a playtest, so bugs and general jank are to be expected. The lore of this title is a little rocky and seems to be mostly revealed as the player explores. From what I've read, we'll be traveling through the lands of the Seven, a chain of islands far from any mainland. The great volcano at the center of these islands constantly expels clouds of toxic ash. This ash instantly hardens on contact with any liquid, smothering plant life and giving rise to a common but lethal illness called the Grey in those that breathe it. We play as Tristen, a witty but naive cartographer assigned to navigate for a detachment of royal knights from the Order. The game gives us very little information on Tristen's backstory or the Order's goals, but we've apparently never set foot on a ship before, and our severe seasickness compromises our mind and leads to a forced landing on the mysterious but deadly island of Greyshaft. As far as visuals go, the game is pretty nice. The facial animations in particular look really bizarre, but the voice acting is very good. Some of the chosen lingo comes off kind of strange, and the lack of proper names like The Order is a bit off-putting, but Tristen is a surprisingly likable character with his own personality, and it's hard not to laugh when the tutorial fight has you borrowing a sailor's peg leg and wielding it like a club.
Just take this one.
Your leg? Are you pulling my... Is this a jest?
What? It's heavy, solid wood.
After a rather drawn-out intro sequence in which we meet our doomed crew and perform a bunch of scavenger hunts, our camp is attacked by masked strangers. Our assailants destroy our ship, slaughter our crew, and leave us with nothing but the clothes on our back and a valuable scroll that we must deliver to an Order captain on the other side of the island if we ever want to leave. Of course, we're then robbed by sweaty bandits who take even those meager possessions from us. Now properly welcomed, Tristen must traverse the dangerous Greyshaft wilds to recover the scroll, seek revenge for his comrades, and maybe even live long enough to see home again. But first he has to stop being such a wimp. Tristen is thoroughly useless when we begin the game, and the only way to get stronger is to learn. Usually the hard way. The intro sequence offers us a few dialogue choices which can improve our attributes, but the rest of our advancement will come from leveling up. Attributes govern our bottom line stats like health and stamina, while also dictating what gear we can equip and which skills we can learn. Gaining new skills is an interesting but somewhat convoluted process. Gaining XP to level up doesn't necessitate combat. Keep in mind that Tristen has pretty much never left the capital in his life, so when we start out he is weak, slow, and stupid. Though combat is a solid way to learn, we can also listen to characters' explanations of their own skills or read books to earn large sums of XP. Learning is earning in this game. We earn a skill point each time we level up or drink a skill potion. We can't just spend that point like in other RPG games though. Here we need to find a trainer for that skills tree, have the proper level of each required attribute, and enough gold to pay our trainer before we can unlock a new skill. You also need to have the previous skill in that branch unlocked. The issues with this system are twofold. Firstly, many skills in the same tree and even the same branch require entirely different attributes. The mining skill may require strength and stamina, but to learn the basic crafting required for it, you need a fair amount of insight and dexterity. This restricts the builds available to the player by requiring them to more evenly spread their points. If a player simply refuses to increase their insight, they could end up locked out of the entire survivalist tree, so no brainless bonk build for you. The second major issue is that equipment like rings can artificially boost your stats, and I'm worried about what might happen if you were to, say, use a strength ring to unlock a skill and then take that ring off. Now ideally, that could mean players could artificially acquire skills outside their character's normal stat range, but that would also sort of negate the point of having those requirements to begin with. There are lots of different ways to interact with the world using these different skills, and most of them aren't even related to combat. Of course, there is crafting and cooking, but many other actions such as picking locks, fishing, and even sharpening a weapon implements little minigames. These minigames are, unfortunately, not especially well explained, but I chalk that up to translation issues. That said, wasting a bunch of rare sharpening kits while you try and figure out how the grind wheel works is rather frustrating. No matter how much the game likes to pretend we can talk our way out of everything, eventually we will have to resort to combat. Combat is, by far, this game's weakest link. The process is pretty simple: parry or dodge when an enemy swings, then hit them back. Don't overuse your stamina and keep your health above zero. Of course, the various monsters prowling the wilds have different pathing and attacks to keep things interesting. Plus, the game says we can swap between different stances depending on our weapon and perform some really awesome skill moves. In practice, however, the combat is very clunky. Don't get me wrong, the animations are really solid and the monsters are freaky, If the game does include visual or moveset changes that adapt to our skill level, that would be awesome. But as of this playtest, the lock-on system works poorly, the hitboxes are very mismatched, and once an enemy starts an attack, they cannot be interrupted. That means even if your power attack should land first and knock the enemy back, it will pass harmlessly through them, and you will take damage instead. The archery felt pretty alright, although I only ever found 6 arrows, so take that as you will. The devs did do a great job of capturing that feel of The Witcher though. Just like in The Witcher, a fall greater than 3 feet is liable to shatter your fragile little bones, and recovering from a stun takes 3 to 5 business days. Yeah, this game can be pretty brutal at times, and though I don't mind that so much, the game should probably advertise that difficulty a bit more clearly. Then again, the difficulty may be due to the poorly optimized combat and entirely unintentional. On top of our health and stamina, our character also needs to eat, drink, and rest. Plus, we need to worry about our overall immunity, which I guess is the result of the supposed ash in the air. Assuming that's the case, then all these so-called plague victims need to stop complaining, because my boy Tristen just downs a bottle of rum and it's all better. Depending on your chosen difficulty, hunger and other ailments will decrease your combat capabilities, or even kill you if not managed properly. Now, recall that I said this title is focused around recreating the joy of emergent exploration, while also relying on the player to use a compass and listen to directions when navigating. That means no quest markers and a minimal HUD. The problem here is that it is so easy to get lost that choosing to explore that cool ruin over there is very risky, especially if you're already on a different quest somewhere you are not familiar with. I also found the world to be somewhat linear. Admittedly, I never got to see any sort of map, which is the one thing that I would expect our cartographer, Tristen, could actually make on his own, so I don't know how big the world is or what most of it looks like. I got to see a forest with some glowy crystals and mushrooms and crumbling houses, but certainly nothing spectacular. In addition to the practical issues, there were, of course, the bugs. And no, I'm not talking about the giant beetles. The control scheme was very strange, so I tried to rebind the keys and noticed that the tooltips that show up in combat do not adapt to your changes. Phantom fatigue and hunger bars sometimes appear and show false values, and most dramatically, the game froze when I entered a small village, and when I tried to close it, it crashed my entire PC. Remember though, this is a playtest. I went in expecting a rough experience, so the current state of the game isn't anything out of the ordinary. Of course, these issues all need to be fixed, but the foundation here is actually very charming. Personally, I feel like the developers have big dreams for this game and are still learning their limits. It's very overwhelming at first, and it feels like it's trying to pull itself in a lot of different directions. It's still a work in progress, and given enough development time and perhaps some tweaks to the scope and mechanical balance of the game, I could see this becoming a fantastic adventure title. Hopefully the devs are listening to player feedback and are willing to adapt to make this game a reality. Growing pains aside, I'm feeling surprisingly positive about this one. But I'm also just the voice in your head, so what do you think about Of Ash and Steel? Does the world have you hooked, or do you want to see more? Would you prefer this game focus on immersion or sacrifice some realism for practicality? What changes would you like to see in the finished version? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like or a comment helps me out a ton, and it might help me catch that stupid pig. Come here, pig. Come here, come here, come here. What the? If you want more, subscribing is the best way to support the channel and keep new content coming your way, because I put out new stuff every week. Thanks so much for listening to me today. You'll be hearing from me again real soon.